Welcome to The Pursuit, the self improvement podcast for those who are ambitious about becoming the type of person they know they are capable of becoming. In today's episode, I want to help you do that by changing your mindset so you can take responsibility for all the key areas of your life. Now, I'm going to help you do that by sharing a concept with you called extreme ownership. So, you're going to learn a lot today about how taking responsibility for everything that happens in your life will help you make the most of this life that you have. It will help you go from somebody who has a victim's mentality at times to somebody who is growth minded and entirely takes responsibility for the direction of their life. Because one of the themes I've seen from coaching hundreds of people over the years, from my time as a personal trainer and for the past few years as an online coach, I've seen so many people be in one of two camps. Either that they neglect responsibility and they push responsibility over to others, or the type of people who take ownership and responsibility for everything in their life. Now, the people who push away responsibility, they blame. They blame others, and this victim's mentality that feeds their mind, it pushes them in the direction of depression, of low mood. And I've seen it so many times, and you can probably think of times either in your life when you've experienced it or with people that you know. People that you know in your life that are just miserable, they're constantly complaining, everything, they're blaming other people for the situation they're in their life, that their health's bad, that their financial situation's bad, that their mentality's bad. It's all blamed on other people, and they never take responsibility for their own life. Now, I'm pretty sure you'll be clear on the fact that you do not want to be like that. You want to be the type of person who others can look at and think, wow, they hold themselves to such a high standard. They take accountability for everything that happens, and they have such an incredible positive growth mindset towards everything that happens in their life, regardless if it's good or bad. That's who I wanted to become, and that's who I've grown myself into. And I'm sure you're the exact same. You want to be the type of person who takes responsibility, take ownership, and just grows and improves. Because if you don't take ownership, you don't take responsibility, you'll fall into that camp like I spoke about, those victims that think it's everybody else's fault for for the position they're in life. And blaming others does absolutely nothing to help us. It keeps you stuck exactly where you are. Whereas the opposite of that, when you take responsibility for everything in your life, you open up everything. You open up the ability to improve each area of your life, your relationships, and that can be relationships in terms of romantic relationships, your friendships, if you're in business, your career, whatever it happens to be, will improve through you taking responsibility for all of your actions. You will grow, you will become empowered, your own self-respect. Because see, these people that blame others, what's going on behind closed doors in the back of their minds is that they know they should be taking ownership, they know they should be taking responsibility, but they just push it onto others. And that's what creates this mess in their own head, which often leads to depression for a lot of people. But again, we're not going to be like that today. Now, I want to cover the definition of responsibility, because it's clear that it's good that we make it clear in the beginning. I don't want to get halfway through this and you're not sure of what I'm talking about here. Responsibilities itself is the state of being accountable for your actions, your decisions, and your obligations. So imagine the opposite of that, somebody who doesn't take responsibility. That would be somebody who isn't accountable for their own actions, their own decisions, and their own obligations. They blame other people. They say, well, it's not my fault. Now, the reason this is so important is, like I just spoke about there, people who do not take responsibility for where they are, they're miserable because they hand it to things that are out of their control. Whereas when you take responsibility for each area of your life, you take ownership and you actually look at what you can control. Because other people, you can't control what other people do. So if you're hoping that other people will pull you out of the mess you're in at some stages in your life, then good luck, because they won't. It's your job to take responsibility for where you are right now and where you want to be. Nobody else is going to do that for you. Now, the victim's mentality we spoke about, what does that come from? That comes from deflecting ownership. So any mistake that happens, any problem that occurs in their life, they say, oh no, that's not my fault. That's somebody else's fault. And where does that keep you? Exactly where you don't want to be. Now, the reality is that you're responsible for your future. Nobody else is. Nobody's going to get you there. It's up to you. If you end up in a bad place in life, and an area of your life is a mess, whether that be financially or emotionally or mentally or even physically, you find yourself out of shape, it's nobody's fault. It's yours. And it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to change that, because if you're not changing it, then who else is there to blame? But what happens for most people? They think of, oh, well, there was this that happened in my past and X and Y and Z. Now, I want to make it very clear. Our past impacts us hugely. It will always be part of us, your childhood, the things you experience, whether that be good or bad, it shapes you into the type of person you are as an adult. However, It doesn't need to dictate every single one of your actions and decisions and behaviors and your mentality and your attitude. Whereas some people let that hold them back. Because there are some things, of course, you're not responsible for, like the family you were born into, genetics, your childhood experiences, education, the economy, other people's actions, if it's random luck. These things are out of our control. You can't be responsible for those things because they happened in the past. They were out of your control. But just because you've been put in a situation for by maybe one of these things doesn't mean that you can't then change it going forward. People think of, oh, I lost my job because of the economy. Okay, maybe the economy changed. Your job let go of people and you were one of those people. What's stopping you going and getting a new job? What's stopping you upskilling? You. It's the only person. Because what most people do is they'll sit and complain and they'll blame others and they'll never change anything. But that comes down to a lack of responsibility. So again, we can put them into two camps here: the victims and the growth minded people. The growth minded people that get what they want from life, and the victims that don't, they stay exactly where they are. Why do they stay stuck? Because they do not take responsibility. Your actions, your decisions, your effort, your behavior, your response to everything is entirely your responsibility. And once you realize that and you actually act upon that, the game changes. Like everything will change for you, because then you're no longer looking for other people and who to blame and what to think of. You're like, holy shit, it's me. I'm in charge. I'm the chief here. Now, that can be frightening to a lot of people because they don't believe in themselves, which I understand is a hard position to come from. But you can grow your self belief, and you can only grow your self belief and grow yourself in life if you start with responsibility. Being aware of the fact there's a problem and then taking responsibility for it. Those are the first two steps of change. So again, you're aware of the fact that something isn't right, a part of your life isn't where you want it to be. It's your job to now take ownership and make the relevant decisions and behaviors and have the relevant attitude that's going to get you out of that. It's down to you and nobody else. So one thing I want you to take from this episode, which has changed my life, has been removing the word blame from your vocabulary. I can never say that word, vocab. That's what we'll go with. Remove it. Because what actually is it? It's like, okay, let's say you blame somebody. Let's say you're out of shape and you blame, oh, it's my parents' fault for feeding me too much, blah, blah, blah. What a load of shit. It's keeping you stuck exactly where you are. Now, did your parents overfeed you and you were overweight as a child and you stayed overweight in adulthood? Okay, I understand that. But did you take responsibility as soon as you were an adult to change that? No, you didn't. You passed blame onto other people. Ain't going to change shit. So it's like, there's just some of the examples. What we need to think of is solutions and not blame. A leader, somebody that takes responsibility, somebody that can be admired, they look for solutions. They take responsibility of, okay, well, maybe that wasn't whoever's fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it was. It doesn't matter who's to blame. What can I do now to improve this situation? That's what I want to do. Now, listen, I'm not fucking perfect. I make mistakes. Yeah, I'll sometimes find myself blaming other people. But I've got into a really good habit of catching myself and saying, do you know what? This is a bullshit mentality, Connor. Get a grip of yourself here. There's nobody to blame. Take responsibility for what you can control and move forward. And that sounds like I'm speaking to myself harshly, but that fires me up because that's the way it should be. Nobody's responsible bar me for my own actions. And it's the same for you as well. So responsibility is just asking, like, who's responsible for improving this situation right now? That's what our job is. So let's say something has happened in a business or in your career, with a team or with some family. You might not have inherently been involved in the situation that went wrong, but if you're in a position of leadership, again, whether that be family or career or business, it is your responsibility to help that situation improve going forward. Now, you can't be the leader for everything in life, but you have to pick and choose. It's like, is it in your relationships? I want to be a leader in my relationship, and my girlfriend wants to make me to be a leader too. So if I start passing off blame and I don't take responsibility, do you think she's gonna fall further in love with me or further apart? She's not gonna like the person I'm becoming if I start to pass blame. Whereas if I take responsibility for everything that I can and I lead with intent and with ownership, she's gonna admire me even more, and our relationship's gonna be so much better. And it goes for everything. Because see, when you start to remove blame and it's just no longer in your vocab, you do not blame other people. What do you have to do? You have to take responsibility. So again, you remove blame, you start taking responsibility. So then what changes? Well, you become more resilient. If you stop blaming others, then what else is there to do? You have to think of a solution. And the less that you think of blaming and the more you think of solutions, the more resilient you'll become over time. Because resilience is essentially just how you respond to a situation. If something bad happens to me and it takes me a month to get back to my normal state, I'm not a very resilient person. Whereas if it takes me half an hour to compose myself and get back on the ball, I'm a very resilient person. And if we're blaming other people, it's going to take us a long time to get back on it because we're holding resentment towards them, because that's what comes with blame. Try and think for me right now. Think for me one thing that happens that's good what comes from blame. So if something had to happen and you to blame somebody else, what good happens? None. Nothing good will come from that. So then what's the opposite of that? Again, if you're somebody that's ambitious, that's why you're listening to this podcast. You want to better your life. You want to become a better individual. You have to take responsibility. So blame is removed. We don't blame shit. It's like with confidence as well. If you want to be a confident individual, a self-assured individual, you have to be somebody that does the things they say they're going to do. How are you going to do the things you say you're going to do if you're constantly passing blame? You can't. You must take responsibility, because then what do? You develop this "I'll figure it out" mentality. That is the mentality of a confident person. Because what you realize is what's within your control and what's without your control. Now, what is out of your control is the thing that's just happened, the problem. Something has happened, or sorry, it's created a problem. Now, what you can control is how you respond to that. What's the solution? And again, that's the "I'll figure it out" mentality. All of us want to be around that type of person. Like for my girlfriend, I know for a fact that it makes her feel safe and it makes her feel comfortable when something goes wrong and I don't panic and I'm like, oh my God, why does this happen? And I'm like, okay, what's happened? I'll solve this. This is what I'm going to do. That's one of the things that makes her feel the way that she wants to feel. And what does that do? That brings us closer together because it empowers me and it empowers her as well. So these are the things we have to be thinking about. It's like people start to see you as more accountable. They start to see you as more authoritative, more mature. Because what's one of the signs of immaturity? And this is big in relationships. When people start dating, you don't really see it in the beginning, but after a few weeks or months, you start to see how people respond to situations. And if they start to blame, what do you think? You think immaturity. Nobody's going to be attracted to somebody that's immature. So if it's a relationship you're looking for, then that's going to be one of the things that's going to be huge in it. People want to see mature individuals. And that goes for any relationship. It's a friendship. If it's somebody you can trust, which that's what a relationship is. It's you and another individual you can trust. For you to be able to trust somebody, they have to take accountability for their actions, and so do you. Because then you'll hold them to a higher respect. You'll see them as more of an authority figure, and you'll have more confidence in them. It comes down to that for yourself as well. Now, I want to share with you the actual concept that changed my perception on all of this. It literally changed the way that I view blame. It changed the way that I view victims mentality, growth mentality, all of these things that allowed me to make the change in my life, which has happened over years. And as I said earlier, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but I'm constantly reminding myself of this thing. Now, the concept is called extreme ownership. There's a book, it's called Extreme Ownership, believe it or not, and it's by Jocko Willink and a guy called Leif Babin. They were both Navy SEALs. They were essentially, imagine this, right? Imagine the top ranked SEALs division in America. These are the guys that would go into all the worst places in the world and the worst missions, like literally a team of between 10 and 20. Those are the guys that went in and got shit done. Like the elite level warriors on this earth. That's who they were. That's what they done. Now, they're still alive. I'm saying that as if it's in a past tense and they're dead. But what they've done now is since they've retired from that, they've went into leadership training. And one of the concepts that they brought into the world was extreme ownership. Now, extreme ownership itself, the definition is a leader essentially must take absolute accountability for everything in their world, never making excuses or blaming others for failures. The goal is then to identify problems and take decisive action to solve them. So it's all the things we spoke about there. It's responsibility, but to an extreme level. So it's not just like, oh, I'll pick and choose what I take responsibility for. Extreme ownership is when you take exactly that for everything in your life, no matter what happens. Now, I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say in business, like we in the Uncommon, one of the businesses that I have, we've got a team of 6. We've also got kind of freelancers and whatnot, but we're building out a team. Now, I'm the head coach of that company, so there's going to be mistakes that happen in terms of whether that would be with me or with others with regards to internal processes, coaching, blah, blah, blah. Now, it's my job as the head coach to make sure that that doesn't happen again. I am the leader of the delivery side of the business. So let's say, for example, a coach makes a mistake and it's something to do with they forgot to do something, they never checked in on something, and then it led to a bit of a problem. Now, I could jump straight in and say, why the fuck did you do that? You knew better. I could start blaming them and saying, oh, that was your fault, this is whatever. That solves nothing. All that would happen is they lose respect for me, they will build resentment to me over time, and the team won't push forward. In fact, the team will push further apart. Whereas if I go in and I say, okay, what happened? This happened. Okay, I forgot to do this. Okay, you forgot to do this. Then I am automatically thinking for solutions. Okay, how can we stop this from happening again? It might be a process. So I will build out a process and bring this in and take them through the process and say, okay, does this make it a bit more simple for you? So we're not going to forget this in future and it's all going to get done. If they're like, yeah, that helps a lot. Great. Now, if they continue to make mistakes, despite me doing everything I can, well, then the ownership on my part is the fact that they either need to change their role or they need to be removed. That would be the stage you would get to. That's extreme ownership. But in the beginning, you're doing everything you can to create a solution. A solution sometimes is somebody parting ways. But in the beginning, of course, you're going to look at processes. You're going to look at training. How can I upskill them? These are the things that I would be looking at. And again, that's through me. I don't blame them. It's not their fucking fault in my head. It's nobody's fault. Nobody's to blame. It's the solution we need. And as a leader, I want to find that solution and I want to push things forward. And imagine a full team that do that. Like, for example, me and John, my business partner, we were on a call the other day and we're both coaches as part of this company. And there was a thing that he'd forgot to do, right? And which is very unlike him. He's absolutely on it. But he'd forgot it 2 weeks in a row. And before I even had to go in, he took absolute responsibility for it. He said, you know what, mate? He says, that's the second week in a row I forgot that now. That's out of order. I should have got this done. It was a tiny thing. It was nothing major. And he's like, I'm going to get this done right now and I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. Now, I have so much respect for him in doing that. And of course, his actions back that up. So I don't even have to come in. So imagine you have a full team that are doing that. Imagine it's you and your partner. Imagine it's you and your friends. And everybody's taking extreme ownership. Think how much better the world would be if everybody took responsibility and ownership. Now, unfortunately, it's not that place. So it will come back to you. If you class yourself as a leader, you want to be a leader in life, you have to take extreme ownership. It's like, it could be, let's say my girlfriend, for example, was booking flights. And let's just give the example of the fact she booked the wrong flight. So if she booked the wrong flight and then she came to me, she would come to me upset. I know that that would be the case. She'd be upset and she'd be, oh my God, I made such a mistake. I've done this, I've done that. Now, I could be a total cunt about this and I could say, oh, you shouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. How did you manage that? That was fucking shit. All this rubbish and I could blame. It's going to do nothing but put her further down. It's not going to do anything to help the situation. Whereas I could say, okay, right, it's all right, don't worry about it. I can calm her down, make her feel okay, make her feel supported, and I can say, right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to find us another flight. I'm going to get one another day. It's all good. I'll see if we can get a refund. If we can't, it's all good. Such is life. And we move on forward. And guess what's going to happen? There's this quote that they say that's calm is contagious. And it's so true. My calmness will spread to her and she'll feel more reassured and she'll feel more comfortable. And then there won't be a problem in the first place because I didn't make it into a problem because there doesn't have to be a problem. And that's the thing. So many people are constantly looking for blame and problems and and conflict. That's where conflict arises, is when you look for somebody to blame and when you look to make it a big problem. It doesn't have to be a problem if you just think of the solution. It just comes down to your response. And I choose to respond to things with extreme ownership. Again, what's our role here? Figure out what went wrong and how do we solve it. It's not about blaming people, it's about solving it. So even if it's not your fault in your mind, that's not the point. The point is, what can I do to take responsibility and help solve this and move it forward? That's what any leader in any realm of life would do in a family and a business. And I know you'll want that too, because you're ambitious. You want a family you can be proud of. You want friends that you can be proud of. You want either a business or a career you can be proud of. So that means that you need to lead from the front as an individual. And that's how you can do it, by applying that. Now, I want to go over some of the shifts that happened this is what happened in my mind, in my life, since I started applying extreme ownership and taking responsibility for the key areas of my life. One of the shifts was I went from realizing what I can and what I can't control. In the sense of, okay, let's say something's happened. Let's say it was the flight situation. I couldn't control that the flight was booked and then it was cancelled and then it was the wrong flight because I wasn't doing it. But what I can control is how I respond to that. That's what extreme ownership forces you to understand. So, because what you could then do in that situation is say, okay, do you know what? Well, I'll double check flights going forward and we'll just make sure that we're on the same page with that. For example, that's a solution. There's no blame there. So, again, it forces us to think of what we can control versus what we can't control. Because if you put time and energy and focus towards the things that you can't control in life, you're going to be miserable because you're constantly going to be disappointed by the fact that, well, this didn't go my way, this happened, and so said this, and why is the weather not great, and all these things that you can't control. The more focus and energy you put into that, the more it will bring you down. So again, your focus should go into what you can take responsibility for, what you can take ownership of. Now, the other thing it does is what we spoke about all day today, is that it takes you out of that victim's mentality of blaming others and poor me, and this is why I'm in this situation, which keeps you exactly where you are, by the way. It takes us out of that and puts us into a growth mentality. How can I become better? What can I do now? That's who you want to be. So we need to apply this ability to take responsibility for everything. Again, if you're in a situation financially you don't want to be in, it's nobody else's fault. It's your decision now in terms of how you get yourself out of this. It's up to you. It's your responsibility. If it's mentally and emotionally you don't feel that you're resilient enough, that's great. Let's work on it. You work on it, you become better. You have the ability to make the decisions that are going to help you become better or become worse. People will have problems in their life. Some people will go and seek support and they'll commit to constantly improving themselves. Some people will turn to drugs and alcohol and comforts in life, gaming, porn, scrolling on their phone. That's a choice. You're choosing to like not take ownership, to neglect ownership, and you're choosing to go into all the comforts in life, which again, it's a victim's mentality. So it's one of the key things that it makes or brings to light for us. One of the quotes that Jocko said, he says, the goal is to figure out a solution rather than to assign blame. Again, what's the first thing people think of? Whose fault was this? Who can I blame? No. What's the solution? That's the switch we're looking for. That is the mental shift that we're looking for in our brain, which, by the way, will take time to happen. You're not going to listen to this episode and be perfect right away. It will take you time to apply this mentality. But the more you do this and the more you practice this, the more it will become natural because of neuroplasticity in the brain. What you repeat will become natural. It's like learning to kick a ball. In the beginning, it feels unnatural. Learning to swing a golf club, drive a car. It feels unnatural at first. But the more you repeat it, you almost have to force it, the more natural it will become. So anytime you think of a problem that comes up and then automatically your brain goes, who's to blame? You need to catch yourself and say, okay, how can I take ownership here? How can I take responsibility? That's how you start to change this over time. Now, to finish off for today, I have a quote for you. Very simple one. Blame makes you a victim. Ownership makes you a leader. You have a choice off the back of today's episode. You can continue to blame others and not take responsibility for the things that happen in your life, or you can be the leader that you know that you want to be, and you can look for the solutions, and you can do everything in your power to make that a reality. You can control your decisions, your actions, your behaviors, your response to things, how you think of it mentally. That is within your control, and that is what you can take ownership and responsibility over. Now, if you're fed up of the fact that you're constantly blaming people and you know you want to change your mentality, but you never seem to be able to do it, you know you want to improve so many areas of your life, whether that be your mentality, your emotional health, your physical health, your relationships, all the key areas of your life. If that's something that you feel that you need support with and you want to continue to take ownership and actually push forward with that, then my one-to-one coaching might be great for you. Now, I'm a self-improvement coach. What I do is help people, ambitious people, build a life they can be proud of, to become the type of person that they know they're capable of becoming, but for years haven't been able to untap that because of their self-limiters and the things that hold them back. I help people unlock that and become a better version of themselves. So whatever aspect of your life it is that you want to improve, if you've listened to this episode and you think, fuck, he gets me, he understands what I'm going through, then we could be great in working together. Now, if that's something you're interested in, all I need you to do is drop me a message on Instagram. Literally message me on Instagram with the word coach. That's all you need to do. And we'll have a conversation and we'll talk through it further. But regardless of that, if you listened to this episode and you found value in it, I really appreciate this. You've took a good bit of your time today to come in and listen to this episode, to commit to improving yourself by taking more responsibility going forward. So take what you've learned from today, take responsibility, take ownership in your own pursuit of constant improvement.